And welcome to the November, oh yes, I gotta have this thing. Well, good afternoon and welcome to the November 23rd, 2023 regular board meeting, the Sunshine Coast Regional District. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 1:32 and acknowledge that the Sunshine Coast Regional District is within the territory of the Sechelt and Squamish First Nations. We have a amended agenda, and would any director like to add or remove anything from the agenda? Yes, Director White, please.
I'd like to put forward the agenda with the removal of directors' reports, as we have a heavy agenda.
Yes, thank you. Would someone like to second that? Yes, Director McMahon. Any discussions? No? All in favor? Any opposed? That passes. Great. The next item is the regular board meetings of November 9th, 2023. Are there any omissions or errors within the minutes? Hearing none, can I have a motion to adopt? Yes, I see a motion and a seconder. Any discussions? No? All those in favor? Any opposed? That passes. We have no business arising from the minutes and no unfinished business then. So we're down to presentations and delegations, which is 2A, pages 7A and so on. And it is Kelly Foley, a Sunshine Coast Housing Coordinator, that's going to, and Colin Stansfield, Executive Director of Scredo. So who's going to start us?
Hi, everybody. This is Kelly Foley. I can start if you like.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay, I'm gonna just share my screen. Give me one moment here. Shoot.
Sorry, Kelly, who can share the screen, or do you have the screen, or?
Yeah, I'm just having a bit of issue here. Give me one sec. I don't know why.
Does anybody else have the presentation? I guess
I did send the presentation in. If I'm not able to do this, is there someone else that could do that for me?
Just give us a sec. Christine will do it for us.
Okay.
Chair, it might take a few minutes. If you want to call a recess, that's fine as well.
Don't know if I can while I'm still in. So I can take a shot at it. Let's try it.
Ah, there we go. We're all good, Christine. Alton just made her work.
Thank you, Alton. Okay, so I'm going to go fast here. We only have 10 minutes. In the interest of time, I'm going to skip a lot, and I'm going to really hone in on what the major gaps are in the community and the work that is underway and how I know the district can support the work that we're doing. So am I able to navigate the screen, or do I need to? I guess I can't.
No, I've got my screen shared, so you'll just have to tell me next slide or what slide you want me to start on.
Yeah, if you could move along, Alton, to the next. Just briefly, in terms of research methodology, this was a partnership with Help Seeker Technologies. We underwent a very sort of deep and expansive research project that included focus groups, interviews, data collection, a lot of research around social systems, best practices, and then ultimately demand modeling, which I'm not going to include in this presentation. But essentially, it's a prediction, an estimate on the number of housing units and social service supports that we will require based on this analysis. Next screen, please. You can keep going, Alton. So a snapshot of the Sunshine Coast is important to consider. We have an aging population, significant aging population, over around 33% right now. It is our fastest growing demographic as it exists now. We have a very large percentage of single detached houses compared to other communities. Also a very high percentage of home ownership versus rentals, and a significant number of people who are renting, paying over 40% of their income on shelter. You can keep going. We identified 4 priority areas: seniors housing, workforce housing, prevention and pathways out of homelessness, and housing for lone parent families. And I'm going to go through each of these very briefly. Move ahead, Alton, please. So when you talk about seniors housing, it's really important to look at it in the context of continuum of care, especially when you consider our provincial government's direction around aging in place. And so when you talk about continuum of care, you're understanding that as seniors age, the types of supports that they require and the types of housing they require changes, moving from independent living to a point where they need home support or caregiver support, moving through assisted living formats, potentially long-term care, palliative care, and hospice. We're going to pass this one, Alton. In terms of affordability gap for seniors in our community, I think one of the major ones to recognize are for seniors on fixed incomes who are living alone. When you consider that a senior's earning just over $1,700 and compare that against the cost of a one-bedroom rental, you can see how they're completely priced out of any type of housing options. Frontline workers identify that as one of the major critical issues that they're dealing with fairly regularly right now. You can move ahead. So the main gaps in seniors housing, first one are options for downsizing. This is a really interesting puzzle, and I think we can solve it. We have a lot of seniors, I think it's over 75%, living in houses. Majority of them own their own houses, and they don't have a mortgage. So they have equity in their house. They have the financial means to relocate, but there are no options for them to downsize. We don't have suitable housing for seniors who want to downsize. The other big significant area are for seniors who require those home supports, those medical or non-medical home supports. There's huge waiting lists for that. It's quite expensive for people on low income. Often they rely on caregivers who are burning out, and our provincial government is moving away from providing those assisted and long-term care models. Third one, lack of continuum of care. Really, this means the ability to stay in your home or at least in your own community as you age, so that there's additional supports and design considerations that meet your needs as you age. And the last one I've already spoken about, and that's low-income seniors who are really facing risk of homelessness in the community. You can move along from this one, please. Workforce housing, keep going. We'll move past this and this as well. I'll just talk about the gaps. So affordability gap for workforce housing, 2 main areas that are I would say quite critical. Single person households, as I mentioned before, or I guess I haven't mentioned that yet. Okay, the inventory, we'll talk about this for housing for single person households is very, very low considering the demand, and what is available is certainly not affordable. As you can see here, The other area are lone parent families. Even a 2-bedroom accommodation right now for a single parent, they're paying, over 45% of their household income. You can keep going. So the major gaps for workforce housing, again, what I was speaking to earlier, the sort of a mismatch in inventory. So while 64% of the housing needs are for small units, that represents only 11% of the inventory. I think we only have like 105 studios in the community. There are very few, the other areas, attainable home ownership options. So what provincial government are calling middle housing, townhomes, condos that are non-luxury, that are more attainable for median income households. We don't have a lot of that. And there really aren't any affordable housing options. So subsidized below market housing options for single person households in the workforce. There are for seniors, but there's very little options for single adults. Keep going. Keep going. Homelessness, okay. What I really want to hone in on here, that was a real epiphany, I think, for me when I did my research, is recognizing the essential need for pathways out, prevention and pathways out of homelessness. A lot of communities, understandably, have been focusing their energies on emergency services, so more of a crisis response. And we need to move from that to prevention and looking at successful exits out of homelessness. You can move ahead, please. You can keep going because we'll keep going. So when we talk about pathways out of homelessness, we're talking essentially about transitional housing. So those are the types of housing that provide the supports required to move somebody, for example, who's living in the encampment and wants to, and they're, go through addiction recovery. So looking at treatment and recovery housing, looking at second stage housing where there's supports, or sober housing after they've gone through treatment and recovery. Those types of bridgeways to moving back into the community. So there's a whole list here. Complex care housing, so that's people with complex care needs. So that's usually layers of support that they require. Different models of supportive housing, as I alluded to before, sober supportive housing. There's all sorts of models around that. Second stage housing, affordable, deeply affordable housing, and then diversion and rapid rehousing. What that refers to is that when a person becomes homeless, sometimes maybe for the first time, and it can be from a life event, a death in the family, a job loss, a critical health issue. There's what other communities do they provide short-term, stable housing that gives that person an opportunity to recover with supports and eventually get back into their living independently. So these are some of the pathways that were prevention models that we're missing. Keep going. I'm gonna skip this as well. Keep going. You can keep going. I'm just trying to be fast. Keep going. So the main gaps that we're experiencing, as I mentioned before, addiction treatment and recovery. We do not have an addiction treatment and recovery center in our community. All of those transitional housing opportunities that I was talking about, we have very, very few options in the community right now. Deeply affordable housing and diversion and rapid rehousing. So those are the main gaps that we have for that population. We can keep going. You guys can always read this later. I just wanted to talk about lone parent families, mainly because they are particularly taking the brunt, I would say, of the housing crisis. We have, 13% of all family households are lone parents, so just under 1,000 households. They have significantly lower incomes because, of course, there's only one person usually that's working. Most of these are female-led. There's just not very many options for them. They're paying well over 50% of their income on shelter costs. You can keep going. So our major gaps, and I know this isn't housing, but it really does layer on top of it, and it's lack of options for affordable childcare. When you look at single family households, it becomes very prohibitive for the parent to be able to work when you don't have affordable childcare options. We don't have, as a second item, enough transitional housing and supports for women and children fleeing violence, which is creating situations where people are living in very unsafe conditions. And as I said before, lack of affordable rental housing options for lone parent families. You keep going. Yeah. So in terms of work underway, there is considerable work. We have our regional housing action table that I'm sure you're all aware of. What has happened since, which I'm really excited about, is we've developed what I call expert working groups. So these are very specific task-oriented groups around those priority areas. We have one that's focused on pathways out of homelessness, one focused on workforce housing, and the other is focused on seniors housing. And essentially, those groups are really honing down into specifically what are those models, those housing models? What does that look like in terms of funding? In terms of, if you know, in the case of workforce housing, ownership structures, financial structures, partnership structures, looking at what's going on in other communities. Who do we need to bring in? What does that look like in terms of advocacy? And so it's quite exciting, and having the right people in the room that have that knowledge, that expertise in those areas, and are able to really drill down and come up with, you know, the solutions and the action plan for that. We are in early stages. I know I've brought this up a few times, the land use evaluation. I'll be putting that as an ask in the next SCRD budget for some funding to support the work. Essentially, that is an assessment of all of the land that could be used for community housing. So it's not just public land, it's also nonprofit land, faith-based owned land. So really understanding what our options are for development. Building capacity is another area. It's a lot of work I'm actually doing, which is really interesting. And there's lots of community organizations that are reaching out and saying, we have land, we want to redevelop it. What does that look like? What does that process look like? And a lot of that's the sort of the feasibility pre-development processes, and recognizing, again, all of those structural issues. Who's going to fund this? What does the partnership structure look like? Who are the tenants? Those sorts of questions, and being able to become very knowledgeable in being able to go through that process effectively, and bringing in consultants. And lastly, in terms of units underway, there's, happy to say, 307 units that are in early days. Some of them are, you know, there's the shovels in the ground, or they're, you know, I think the Shaw Road project is getting a roof over its head, and others are just in the final sort of stages of fund development. So that's it. I think I did it in 10 minutes. These are just models that I've left in there that you can review at your leisure.
You did very well. Yes. It's kind of shocking, all those statistics.
Well, there's a lot more in the report. What I found really fascinating is there are puzzles in there. You get to really drill down and understand, okay, this is what we need to do. And it's very helpful.
Yes. Director Bax, please.
Thank you. I wonder, Kelly, if you know what the size of the youth homeless population is. I'm particularly interested in the upcoming Foundry program, and I was wondering if the youth, the 12 to 24-year-olds that the Foundry is going to be serving, will they get an opportunity to? Will Foundry be, if you know, have an answer for this, will they be kind of a transition out of homelessness for them?
I think first of all, I believe, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think it was around 12% when they did the point in time count. for youths that identified as homeless. I think it is from conversations with youth outreach workers. I do think that number is probably higher. There's a lot of hidden homelessness around youth, who are either couch surfing or in precarious, unsafe situations. My understanding of the Foundry is it's more of those deep supports, from counseling to, I guess, sort of social service navigation, to support youth, especially youth as they age out of care. I don't believe they're actually providing housing, but I can look into that for you, Kelly, and get back to you on that.
Thank you for the answer.
Director McMahon, please.
Thank you. So when you cite the number of studio units in the community, I assume that's purpose-built housing as opposed to the inventory of housing that's in people's homes, like basement suites and so forth. That, as far as I know, we have no inventory of that. Is that correct?
Unfortunately, I haven't been able to drill down on that. Those are Statistics Canada. It's data. So when people filled out their census report, that's how that information was collected, and it doesn't identify if it's a privately owned dwelling or if it's a purpose-built dwelling. I would assume that most of them are purpose-built dwellings.
Follow up, please.
Thank you. I remember when the inventory was done that a large portion of the rental units are in fact in the unincorporated areas and are, people's homes or secondary dwellings on properties. Therefore, I was extremely disappointed to discover that province's new program to provide forgivable loans to homeowners to create secondary suites is not applicable to unincorporated areas. I don't know if you or Colin have any comment on that. I haven't been able to find out why they think this is a good idea.
I find it quite shocking. I don't understand the logic behind it. I have reached out both to Naomi and to Lisa Helps to find out if they can get back to me on that, because it doesn't make any sense in my opinion. Yeah.
Okay. I don't see any more hands up here. Can I have a motion to receive the delegation materials? Yes, Director McMahon, seconded. Yes, Director Toth. All in favor? Well, that passes. Thank you very much. It was very interesting, and you managed to put a very complex subject into a reasonable time frame, so much appreciated.
Yeah,
Thank you.
speed presentation.
Yes, it sure is.
Thank you guys for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Okay, so we're moving on to reports. And it's Annex B, pages 8 to 9, which is Committee of the Whole meeting recommendations number 1 to 5 of November 9th, 2023. Before we adopt the recommendations as a block, would anybody like to pull any of the recommendations for separate consideration? Hearing none, can I have a motion to adopt recommendations? Yes, Director Gabius, seconded by McMahon. Thank you. Any further discussions? Seeing none. All those in favor? Any opposed? That passes. We're now on to the Special Committee of the Whole meeting recommendation number 1 to 15 of November 10th, 2023, which is Annex C, pages 10 to 14. Before we adopt them as a block, would any director like to pull any? Motion to, sorry, Director Toth, please.
Thank you, Chair. I've actually really been struggling with recommendation 2 since we recommended it. I would like to pull recommendation 2. to be voted on separately.
Okay. Any others? Before we discuss recommendation 2, I'd like to pass the rest as a block. A motion to pass, yes. Director Toth, seconded. Director Gabius. No further discussions. I'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? Done. Okay, let's find number 2. Which page is that on?
Page 11, right at the top.
That's a Regional Water Service Area 2024 Rate Bylaw Amendment. Yes, Director Toth, please.
Thank you, Chair. Unfortunately, I didn't have an opportunity before this meeting to prepare enough in the way of speaking points to it, but I struggled with it in the meeting, and I've been struggling with it since. I worry that this is too much of an increase for 2024. I can't remember which one of the other options it was, but there was one of the options that was a slightly lesser amount. So, you know, I suspect I'm in the minority on this one. I just wanted to flag that concern, and that we do know there are affordability challenges. We do know that there are infrastructure deficits. We know that it's going to be a lot more expensive for water going forward. I just don't think that 2024 is a year that we should make a big jump without further work on that capital planning. Thank you.
Do you have a motion, or we will deal with it? Does anybody have any? Oh, yes, Director McMahon, please.
I sympathize with Director Toth's concerns, but I have no reason to expect that affordability is going to improve anytime soon. So while perhaps not overjoyed to be raising our utility rates that much, I don't see that we have any prudent alternative. Thank you. Yes, what a good idea. Thank you. I would like to move recommendation number 2 on page 11 of the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Yes, Director Stamford. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? 2 opposed. That will pass. Would you like to have your votes recorded?
Yes, please.
Yes? Both members would like to.
You were 3 opposed.
Oh, there was 3 opposed. Sorry, Director Inkster. Corporate officer, was that a weighted vote?
It's just recommendations. It'll be weighted when it comes back as a bylaw, right?
So because the implication of this has to do with a budget and it impacts the budget, it would be all directors and it would be a weighted vote.
Okay, so it's a weighted vote. We're going to have to do some math here.
Yes. Can we see hands again?
I'd like to call the question again then. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I see 5 in favor. Is that correct? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's
No, I know. That's why I'm giving you that look.
hang on, gentlemen. I will ask the corporate officer that question.
Because we're in a board meeting, it's per the Local Government Act, and because the utility rates are tied to budget, any voting that has to do with budget or amending the financial plan is all directors' weighted vote. So all directors at the table have a vote on this resolution that was pulled. If you want to redo the vote, we can do the math.
Well, you did vote, and I did count you. Yes. So there should be 9 votes here, so We've got 5 for. All those opposed, please. 1, 2, 3 opposed.
8 minus 8.
I voted in favor. So,
One abstention, which is a vote in favor.
Abstentions are not permitted. They are a vote in the affirmative. I believe the vote carries.
Yeah.
so it was 6 in favor, 3 opposed. And the 3 opposed were 2 Seashelt
A total of 8.
and Roberts Creek, right?
It passes.
I do believe that passes. Is that correct, Corporate Officer? Yes.
It
Okay.
passes.
My math said it passed, so. Yes, Director Inkster, please.
Just a clarification, where, just through you to the corporate officer, where the SIGD is in this voting? Yeah, is that it, right, the SIGD?
They are eligible to vote as well.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Director Toth.
Sorry, Brian.
No, it's good to have debate. That's what we're here for. We shall now move on to Annex D, which is the Electoral Area Service Committee recommendations number 1 to 8 of November 16th, 2023, which is on page 15 to 17. Before we adopt them as a block, would any director like to pull the recommendation, any recommendation for separate consideration? Hearing none, may I have a motion to adopt? Director McMahon, seconded. Director Stamford. All those in favor? Any opposed? That passes. Okay, so we're down to request for proposal for the exposed water main rehabilitation, and it's Annex E, pages 19 to 20. And I just wanted to get down to that.
Page 18.
Yeah, got the wrong one up. Well, anyways, it's page 18. I gotta find mine. Damn. Who would be speaking to that one?
I will.
GM Rosenboom?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Please.
Thank you, Chair. In front of you is a report to request approval for contract award for rehabilitation work on one of the 3 crossings of our main that's located between our intake and the treatment plant over Chapman Creek. The work will consist of rehabilitation of the surface of the pipe of the main. It's not a replacement of the main, so it is considered operational in nature. That's why the recommendation include a change in funding source from capital work to operational reserves. The available budget was not sufficient to award the contract for all 3 crossings. So therefore, this contract award would be for one of the crossings, and budget proposals are being presented to the board at round 1 for sufficient budget for the other 2 crossings to be completed next year. Staff are available to answer any questions the board might have.
Yes, Director Bax, please.
Yeah, so it's a replacement of a rusty structure that's holding up the water lines. Has there been, why did it rust out? Was it not maintained? And there's materials available that are rust resistant? Are they being employed in the new contract?
GM Rosenboom, please.
Thank you for the question. It's rusting. The materials were installed when even I think before the treatment plant was built, or at the same time, so more than 20 years ago. So over time, they just wear out, however you build them, especially if they're constantly in the wet. So this is primarily to prevent them from further rusting. So it's not a replacement of any of the materials. It's a repainting of, resurfacing of, there's a thick coating on top of it, and that need to be scraped off and redone with modern materials so that they last longer.
Thank you. Director McMahon?
Okay, I think you may have just answered my question because I look at it and I think it's a pipe, so that's capital. But you're saying it's a repair, it's not a replacement, and that's why it's operational, not capital. Good, now I finally understand.
Yes, any further questions? Yes, Director Bax?
Just one more question. So it's not metal you're replacing? Okay, thanks.
Can I have a motion to adopt the recommendations on page 18? Yes, I see. Motion made and seconded. Any further discussions? Director McMahon, that hand is residual? Yes? Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Any opposed? Good, that passes. Okay, so we're on to Annex F, invitation to tender water main replacement, Sans Souci Road. Is that GM Rosenboom, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. By the way, I will just realize that I should turn my camera on. That's better. Thank you for the opportunity. This contract award is for the construction of a new water main underneath the bridge on Sanssouci Road. In 2020, 2020 was concluded that that may need to be replaced. In 2021, a contract was awarded for the design and permitting for that replacement. So this contract award is just for the construction work so that they can be completed in the near future. Thank you. And staff are available to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions on that one? Seeing, oh yes, sorry. Director Gabius, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to move the recommendations listed on page 21. And I also have a quick question.
Thank you.
That's half the budget for water main replacements, if I see this correctly. So like how are we looking for other projects for water main replacements? I'm just like looking at the cost of this one compared to the total budget. Like, is there anything else coming down the pipe?
Director Rosenboom, could
I'm still
GM Rosenboom, that's demoted you again.
Thank you, Chair. This is not impacting or delaying any other projects. This is these are the costs that were more in line what we expected a project like this to cost. Thank you.
So did I hear you make a motion to accept the recommendations on 21? And I believe Director Toth seconded that shortly after. So is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Any opposed? No, seeing none. That passes. So we're now on to the Annex G, which is the HVAC unit replacement at Gibson's and Area Community Center. Who will be presenting that for us?
Chair, if someone could promote Manager Van Velzen to the meeting. He's in the waiting room, I think, as an attendee, and he'll present the report. Thank you.
Christine, can you promote Manager?
Thank you, Chair. I'm trying, but it hasn't been accepted yet.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. I actually think that the report speaks for itself, so I'd like to move the recommendations on page 24.
I see a seconder. Any further discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That passes. Thank you, Director Toth. We're now moving on to placement of notice on title, Annex H. There we go. Pages 27 to 30. GM Hall, will you be doing an introduction for us?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'll introduce this report, and I have Building Official Lionel Hughes with us today, as our Chief Building Official is away at some training. As the board knows, from time to time, staff bring forward these reports. Under Section 57 of the Community Charter, building officials are charged with the authority to make recommendations to a board or council for placement of notice on title when a condition relating to a building is observed that's contrary to regulations. And the purpose is twofold. One is to protect SCRD. So when we become aware of a risk, this is a way of marking our notice of that risk. And the other is to protect future owners of a building, so that if a building changes hands, a condition that we're aware of doesn't go unnoticed by a prospective buyer. And staff's role in this process is to observe conditions that are an issue and to report them to the board. And that's in keeping with our responsibility to manage building safety. And I think it goes without saying that buildings can be dangerous things. They can lead to injuries or even death if they are not constructed properly. Also, there are liability concerns and claims that can flow from damage resulting from buildings not being constructed properly. So that's staff's role, and board's role is to decide whether after having been informed about a condition that is unsafe, whether you agree or would like to see something different happen. It's a risk tolerance consideration. And part of the board's consideration is considering any information from owners who are notified and they're given an opportunity to speak. And the best outcome, of course, is compliance. We want safe buildings. That benefits everyone. And so sometimes a delay in placement of a notice on title is granted, typically in staff's experience. That's associated with or linked to a meaningful milestone towards compliance. Thanks. And I should say, there are 3 properties in the report today for which placement of notice on title is recommended. And staff are here to answer any questions that the board might have. Thank you.
Thank you. Would the next, if there's someone that's here to speak on any one of these, I think I should ask them to speak now. So, yes, I see. Okay. I'll go in order then. Which one's which here? The first one up is number 2. That the corpus officer be authorized to file a notice at the land title office on lot 41, district lot 3923. I believe
4276 Orca.
4276 Orca. Thank you, Director Toth. I believe Mr. McAllister would like to speak on that. I see his hand up. Could we promote him in, please? Oh, he's there. Okay, Mr. McAllister, can you give us an overview of what this is all about and what you think?
Can you hear me firstly?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yes, I'm very good friends of Mr. Babick, who is the owner of the property. I've known Mr. Babick for probably 50 years. He is formerly a contractor and a house builder, and he undertook to build this new deck on the back of his home on Orca, and it's a beautiful deck, and the home is beautifully finished.
Sorry, Mr. McAllister, I'll just interrupt you. Mr. Babick, I believe, is the homeowner, and he has his hand up. Could we promote him as well, please?
I can stand down if you like.
No, just stay right there.
Okay.
Oh,
So can anybody hear me here?
yes, we can hear you.
So yes, I'll take over from Sean. Thank you for listening to me here. I'm the owner of the property in question, and I built this deck. The deck was actually built by a contractor, the superstructure, and then I took over the finishing of it, installed the waterproofing and the tiling and the handrail and the glass. And the reason I'm here today is because we're talking about the paperwork. As far as I'm concerned, it's only paperwork that's missing. The handrail structure is an engineered structure, actually manufactured in Abbotsford, installed by dozens of hundreds of thousands of decks. Probably some of you people in this meeting right now have the same handrail system that I have, that's in question here right now. So apparently I'm missing some paperwork because as a builder and finishing the handrail, I didn't realize at the time that I needed to have an engineer sign off on it so I could get my final building inspection. So during that period of time, COVID hit. I'm not from here. I'm in Alberta actually right now, so I'm seldom there. And then with COVID, I was hardly there at all to deal with the situation. So time went on, and then all of a sudden, this beginning of this year, I was announced with a very serious illness, which is preventing me from coming down there right now. I won't be even there till into the new year. Not sure when because of my therapy schedules and all that kind of stuff. So, but I will let you know that as of this morning, I've hired an engineer, Chester Machniewski or something. I'm sorry for the pronunciation of the last name. So he's agreed to take this on. I have access for him to get into the property. He told me actually in an email a little while ago that he would try and get it taken care of in the next few days, to go in there and examine it, do his report, and then have everything necessary to submit back to you, to whichever department needs the paperwork, so that I can get this thing signed off. So that's where we're at right at the moment. I would ask the council here to give me I don't need a 2-year extension on this thing. I'm going to deal with it right now. So if you could give me a week or 2 weeks, so that I can get everything, all my ducks in a row, working with the engineer, I would appreciate that. So that's what I'm here for today, to request a little bit more time, and I will take care of this.
Thank you. That was quite clear. Should we deal with this one at a time? We'll deal with it one at a time, okay. So first off, can I have a motion that the report title, placement of notice on title be received for information? Yes, I see a motion made. I see it seconded. All those in favor? That's done. The next one is I'd like to make a motion on the one that was just discussed, which is item number 2, that the proposed resolution to authorize our corporate officer to file a notice at the Land Title Office stating that a resolution has been made by the Sunshine Coast Regional District Board under Section 57 of the Community Charter against the land title of Lot 41, District Lot 3923, Plan LMP 31125, PID 023630094, that one. I've got the whole thing. It's number 2. And I believe our next meeting would be January 11th, 2023, that we would reconsider it if building was to bring that forward. GM Hall, does that seem reasonable to you?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, that seems reasonable, and the pattern we have for considering notice on title, the next natural occurrence would be the second board meeting in January.
Okay, thank you. So all those in favor then of that motion? Yes,
To refer it to the second board meeting
Yep.
in January is what I heard.
yes, January 25th. Okay. All those in favor? Any opposed? That passes. Thank you, gentlemen. With that, yes. So then we will move on to number 3. What's that address?
052 Alderwood.
8025 Alderwood. Okay. Would you like to talk specifically about that? Is there anybody that would like to speak up on that? No? Okay. Oh, okay, so we'll deal with this motion then? Can I have a motion for number 3, to accept number 3? Yes, Director McMahon, seconded. Director Toth, sorry, I couldn't see your hand, Director Gavious. Any discussions? Everybody okay on what we're voting on?
Number 3, but it's the second property.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, number 3, second property. Yes. Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? That passes. Okay, we'll move on to number 4. And
1310 Sea Ranch.
1310 Sea Ranch. I got it. Sorry, could you introduce yourself to us, please?
Good day, Chair. My name's Brad Chase. I'm the owner of the property.
Thank you. So, yes, please go ahead.
So I purchased this property. Is it on now? Yep. Expecting it to be an off-grid property that I could learn how to build on. What happened was this was not the case, and it was sold to me, what I found later, illegally, because it's a homeowner's builder's property. So then I had to go through the homeowner's builder's course, which teaches you almost nothing, in my opinion. And in that process, my brother that was going to help me build the place had to go back to work. Now, after that, I ended up going to treatment for post-traumatic stress disorder, and I haven't really went back to the island in a little while because it's just quiet and lonely, and paperwork isn't done, so I can't do any work. So my request is to have a 2-year extension on this property. I know that this property, from after I bought it, I found out that it's been a very big pain in the from everybody's perspective, including mine, so it's a difficult one to learn on. But since the last report that I had the Sunshine Coast Regional District Inspector come out, which is this report, he wrote down everything that needed to be done, and to be honest with you, I haven't been out there to do that. So the building has been sitting for the last 2 years while I've been getting my life sorted out in BC and building a relationship and that kind of stuff. So my request is to have an extension as my knowledge is growing and I can continue to go out there and finish this project. The other issue was that I did not know, as a homeowner builder, I wasn't allowed to contract more than, I think it's 40% of the build. I have to do it myself. So that was a big flaw. That's my story.
Thank you very much. I think we'll have some more questions of our GM here before we make a decision.
Actually, I've got a question for the applicant.
Okay, so we have some questions for the applicant here first. Director Stamford, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just wondering if the owner, what their connection with the Sea Ranch Community Board is, and if the board has had any consideration or concerns about the level of work that hasn't been done or done.
Yes, Chair. The board has no issues with what's going on at the property right now. It's at full lockup. The outside cladding is done. It's the inside that needs to be done. So from their perspective, looks like a complete building.
Did you have a follow-up, Director Stanford? No? Anybody else have a question? Yes, Director Toth, please.
Thank you, Chair. So the way that I read this and understand this is that the issue right now is largely paperwork related. I don't think it's really within the board's purview to grant something like a 2-year extension. But I wonder if we did similar to the first property to the January 25th meeting, if that would be a sufficient amount of time for you to get the paperwork side of things sorted out. And if it's not, I just wanted confirmation from the GM on the process and the cost to remove a notice on title. Thank you.
There was 2 questions. One.
From my perspective, I do not believe that the next meeting will be enough time. The reason being is this particular property had a tram that brought all the supplies up to it. It's like 200 feet up a hill. The previous owner did not permit that correctly and it got removed. So now for the engineer wants me to bring up 25-foot laminated beams that I have no way to get them up there anymore. So I'm looking for a different solution on that engineer problem. So I would request longer than January if possible.
Yes, GM, please.
Thank you, Chair. On the process to remove notice on title, it is a straightforward process. There is I believe it's a $200 application fee, and it is processed promptly by our team. Thanks.
Sorry, was that your team would actually remove it once it was ready?
Well, when I say my team, I think it's actually the corporate officer's team, and it involves a filing with the land titles office, but it's a fairly straightforward process that can be accomplished easily, promptly. Yeah.
Yes, Director Bax, please.
So the question to me is, does he need time? We're not the people that are going to give him a 2-year extension on this. It's going to be staff, correct? Is that correct?
Yes, I believe if the permit's renewed, it's for a 2-year period. That's typical.
Can he, between now and the second meeting in January, is that enough time for him to get the permit extended? I know, but but then he answered that he needed to do work to have the permit extended.
The answer was no. Yes.
He needs to do work before the permit can be extended?
He won't have it ready by the next meeting. No.
Okay, I don't understand
Yes, GM Hall, please.
For clarity, Chair, there's a couple of pieces here that are linked but distinct. One is we always want to see, as I said in my intro, we always want to see compliance, and we're pleased to support people to take steps towards compliance, appreciating some people end up in a situation where they're speaking to you on one of these reports, and the situation that's led to here is not always of people's own making. And an important part of that is having a building permit. So we're pleased to process extensions to building permits or new building permits as needed. And that movement towards compliance can be helpful, and depending on the issue, the board may decide that that is enough to address your risk concerns. But separately from having that building permit in place, the board may choose to proceed with a notice on title for the reasons I outlined in my intro, basically risk management. The two are not mutually exclusive. Thanks.
For clarity's sake, GM Hall.
Just hang on. I believe Director McMahon actually had her hand up first.
Okay, this is kind of a follow-up to the...
It's a follow-up?
Yes.
Okay.
I just wanted some clarity as...
Yes, go ahead then, please.
Does staff have the ability to give him a 2-year extension before he does anything else?
I think your question is, if we had an application today, could staff issue a building permit? Is that about it?
Yeah, that's about it, yes.
Yes.
What's the condition?
Yes, GM Hall.
Thank you for the question of clarification. The answer is yes, and I would note that the chief building official requested that prior to an extension being granted, that outstanding documentation would need to be submitted. The reason there being that what has been constructed is different from what was permitted.
So is that a onerous task? That's not something that could be done today then, sorry.
I do not have the engineer's I don't have an engineer that is willing to work with me on this one. Well, I shouldn't say that because the one that's working with me is being very difficult, let's put it this way. So there was parts of the building that was built that were different than the drawings when I bought it, and that is part of the issue. Mostly what it is a breezeway that was enclosed. So there's a few little discrepancies. And then when I bought it, I will fully admit that I expected to be able to just build there. And I built a loft that is for storage, and that is maybe the part that they're speaking of. I just changed the inside dimension, the inside layout of the structure that was already there. When I bought the structure, the engineer had signed off on the structure. The difference is that I put in skylights and the engineer wants reinforced beams on either side of the skylight, that those are the beams I can't get up there. For the rest of the structure, it's already been signed off.
Yes, Director McMahon, please.
This sounds like a long adventure. However, it's my understanding that a notice on title is only comes into play if you should decide to sell the property, and it doesn't present any obstacle to completing, getting the permits and completing the house. So, and it's pretty easy to remove. So I'm not sure that there's any real reason not to put a notice on title at this time. And to wish you all the best with this remarkably difficult sounding project. Yes, all right. I'm being urged to actually do something instead of just talk. Oh, but.
Sorry,
look,
Director
I won't.
Stamford first, maybe? Director Stamford?
I would like to move the motion as presented. Would you like me to read it out? Or are you clear? It's item 4 on page 27.
Yes, thank you. Do I see a seconder for that? Yes, Director McMahon.
And I just
Any further discussions? Director Stamford?
I am familiar with this property. Once you mentioned the tram that was removed, now I totally know what you're talking about. It is a very challenging particular piece of property, and it will take some work, and it's taken a lot of work to get where it is now. So I do wish you the best of luck, and I hope your community is supportive, because it is a tight community there. So thank you.
Okay, then I will call the question. All those in favor of the motion? Is there any opposed? Yes, Director Toth is opposed. Oh, and Director Bax? Okay, so that passes. Would you like your vote recorded? No. I got to tell you, I think you've got quite an adventure in front of you, actually. It's probably, once you get all settled down and get started, it's going to be fun, I think. I'm kind of jealous. Thank you very much. Yes, wish you well. Thank you, gentlemen. I'd like to invite the chair to talk about Annex I. Preliminary information on our strategic plan. I'm very proud of our strategic plan, by the way. I think we did excellent. And as it says here, we met with a wide range of employees from across the SCRD to take a scan and learn about our organization challenges. It took us several months, but I think we've got the best one ever. And I have to really thank Director White for all his work. He's very, very focused on it. Director McMahon for her excellent editing skills. And our facilitator. I tell you, it was, and actually our CAO helped a little bit too, didn't he? Yeah. I think I think this is, and our corporate officer, she was in there. No.
Chief Financial Officer you're thinking of.
Chief Financial
Yeah.
Officer was in there. With
Tina
both
did a
feet.
ton of work on this.
Yes. So, and the way our board worked together to make it happen, and the patience they showed and the diligence they showed was awesome. So I think we've got a good solid foundation to go forward on. And I guess I could go on forever about how good it was, but that's it. So does anybody have anything to add? Okay, that the report titled 2023-27 SCRD Street Plan Update be received for information. Can I see a motion for that? Director Toth, Director McMahon, all those in favor? Yes, question?
Just as part of the communication strategy, it says December 14th. I guess it goes to the, well, most likely as part of that strategy, it goes to the councils soon after that then? Local councils?
I don't know the answer to that question. Huh? Yes.
I think, yeah, if we're going to be seeing the completed version in the December 14th meeting, I think that's going to be up to us to decide to refer it out to councils, community associations, or organizations that we see fit.
Back on December 14th. That would be about right. Thank you. Any other questions? It's really nice to have that essentially wrapped up and know it was a job well done. Okay, so we're on to communications. Annex J, pages 33. Director Bax, please.
I move that we, as a board, direct staff to create a letter of recommendation for the resource center and their application for the transportation fund.
I'm sorry.
They're searching for.
Sorry for a point of order, but I might be wrong on this, but did we vote on the last motion?
Yeah.
We did? Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Do I need to repeat myself?
Yes. I think
that the board provide a letter of support for the application of the Sunshine Coast Resource Center for the Transportation Fund grant.
yes, I think that's
Is that?
that's good.
That's.
You got that? Yes, we got that.
We have
Okay,
a
so
seconder.
I see a seconder. Yes, any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That passes. We have no motions, we have no bylaws. The director's reports are all taken care of. Yeah, no new business. So I need a motion that the public be excluded from attendance at the meeting in accordance with section 91A, C, and K of the Community Charter. Director Toth, seconded by Director McMahon. All those in favor? Okay, let's take a few minutes while we secure the premise then. Okay, welcome back to the SCRD Board meeting of November 23rd, 2023. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please? Yes? See the motion made? Any discussion? Nope. All those in favor? That's passed. We're now adjourned. Thank you.